G'day Trailblazers, my name is Cam, and in today's video I'm going to take you through the Journey Builder data extension entry event in Salesforce Marketing Cloud. So we'll start off today in Journey Builder, which we can access through our drop-down menu under Journey Builder. We'll start off by creating ourselves a brand new journey. Now the goal for today is to use the data extension entry event, which allows us to use data and a data extension as the source of records for our journey. Now for today, we'll start off by using the multi-step journey by selecting that option and then choosing the Create button. And once our journey is created, we can jump over to our left-hand side entry sources and choose our data extension entry source. We can drag and drop that onto our starting source on our canvas. Once we click onto the data extension entry event, we get this little window on the side here. We can choose our data extension to use for this entry source. We can choose the Select Data Extension, which pops up this window. You can navigate to our chosen data extension. Now I have one earlier, which I've got here called my Sample Rows, which contains 13 records in it. So I'll choose that one. You can see here, there are no active journeys using this data extension. Great. What I can do here as well is I can choose to use a filter on my contacts, which allows me to use my contact data to filter out various records. But for today, I'm going to leave this one blank and just bring in all the records in this data extension. So I can click on the button at the bottom here called Summary and go Done. You can see our summary here and I'll go Done. Once we click that Done button, we're going to receive a green data extension symbol here, which means it's now chosen my data extension. I can see my 13 records are there. And the cool thing is we now have this little icon below, the schedule icon. We can click on this, which opens up another menu. We can see three options: the Run Once, Reoccurring, and Automation options. Now the Run Once does exactly what it sounds like. It's going to run the journey once, loading all 13 records that are in my data extension into my journey canvas, and then they'll receive the activities in my journey. This can be really useful for things like newsletters or one-time sends, but if you're trying to build a reoccurring journey, it's not a great option. You have to come in here every day and replay that journey. So for this, we now have the reoccurring option. Now I'll choose the reoccurring option for today, and I'll go Select. Now by choosing this option, I get my new schedule options here. I can set the schedule for this reoccurring journey. By choosing this set schedule, I can then choose the start date for my journey. So I'll start things off tomorrow. I can start them off at, let's say, 1 AM in the morning, my local time. We can choose to repeat this journey every hour, day, on weekdays, weekly, monthly, or yearly. Now for this one, I'm going to choose daily. I can choose this to repeat a number of days, or I can say end after a number of occurrences. But for this one, I'll say let's run every day, every 1 days, and end never. Now on the next step, we have to choose our contact evaluation options. Now the contact evaluation allows us to choose how we are going to bring those records into the journey. The options here are to evaluate all records entirely or just the new records. Now the new records option here, it only brings in records that have occurred since the last time this activity ran. This is also called the high watermark, which means you can run this activity each day. It's only going to bring in the new records since the last send. Again, this can be super useful if you're just trying to bring in records each day and only send to those new records. However, you can also use the Evaluate All Records option, which says to ignore the high watermark, and whoever is in the data extension at the time that the journey reactivates, it's going to send to all those records. As the warnings here say, usually the high watermark is a bit faster and the all records is a bit slower, but of course each of these options is applicable based on your current scenario and what kinds of journey outcomes you want to achieve. Now for today, I'm going to use the Evaluate All Records and I'll go Summary. You can see here is my reoccurring schedule summary, and I can go Done. Now my journey entry source is all configured. I can now bring in my activities if I chose to and start building out this journey. But the cool thing about the data extension entry event is there is one more type of entry event we haven't covered, which is a lot more powerful. And I'll show you that one more time. I go in here and modify my schedule type. It's this third option here, the automation option. Now the reoccurring one is a blind reoccurring. It's going to resend this journey or re-trigger the journey every day or week or whatever schedule we chose. But the automation option allows us to tether this journey to an automation, which means we can use Automation Studio to build an automation which can trigger from an API, from a file drop, or reoccurring on its own daily schedule basis. So again, a very, very powerful way of triggering journeys. So to do this one, I'm going to need to have a journey or an automation which I can tether this journey to. So let's jump out and start to build the automation out and build the activities that we need to make this work. So to start with, we're going to need to build ourselves a brand new data extension to use for our journey. Now I've got here my sample rows data extension, which as you can see is a pretty well formatted data extension. It's going to have our ID field as our primary key, first name, and of course the email address, which we can then send to our subscribers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this sample rows data extension to make our brand new journey entry data extension. So I'll go create, I'll choose standard data extension. I'm going to choose to create from an existing data extension. So I can very quickly jump into my folder, choose my example data extension here, my sample rows, and go OK. Call this one sample rows journey. I'll leave it as sendable and testable, next, and everything there looks fine. So I'll go create. And so now I've got my brand new data extension, which contains, of course, 0 rows. What I want to do is I'm going to make a piece of SQL, which every day is going to choose some records from my original data extension here. Pretend this is my subscribers data extension. It's going to then load those subscribers into my journey data extension here, and then tell Journey Builder to send to the high watermark to send those brand new subscribers. So with my brand new data extension built, let's jump into Automation Studio and build ourselves that SQL. Okay, so in Automation Studio, let's go and build ourselves our brand new automation with some SQL. By going New Automation, we're going to use a schedule as our starting source. I'm going to leave that blank for now. Of course, we're going to do some SQL, so let's use an SQL activity. We'll drag and drop that in, and we can choose to create a new activity. So I'll choose the Create New Query activity at the top here. We can write ourselves our new query. Now for this one, it's going to be sample rows journey. We'll leave this one in the query folder. We'll go next, and let's start to write out our SQL. So what we can do, we can jump into our folder and we can take our sample rows data extension here. So we've got our sample rows, there it is there. We're going to select something from our sample rows data extension where a condition is true. Now luckily for us, the sample rows journey data extension is a perfect copy of sample rows. So I can say select star or select all records from sample rows and all those columns where, let's make a condition now. I jump back into my data extensions, I can go to my sample rows. Let's have a look at some of my subscribers. Now for our first run of this SQL, let's go and pick up one of our subscribers. And let's have a look who we've got here. And our first subscriber is Astro. So let's pick up our subscribers where the ID is equal to this value. So I'll copy that value and I'll say where ID is equal to that value. Go validate to make sure it looks okay, looking good so far. So I'll go next. Now where are we going to put this data? Well, since we are building a data extension, we are adding new records to it. I'm going to choose the update method, which means it's going to add a new record if there's no existing one found, but it also means it won't fail if a duplicate record is found. So I'll go back into my folder. I'm going to upload this into our sample rows journey data extension and go next. Here we are, summary's looking pretty good, so I'll go finish. And that is my SQL. So I'll show what happens next. Now that I have this SQL done, I'll save my journey. Sample rows journey automation. I'll go done. And so now we've got our automation ready to go, so I'll save it. Now we can configure our schedule session here. So we'll go configure. Let's choose to start this activity, choose tomorrow. Choose it at 1 AM and it's going to repeat every day, ending never. And I'll go done. Of course, we can now save the automation, activate it, and then save once more. Perfect. So now we have that sample rows journey data extension being appended to by using this SQL activity. Now the cool thing is, if I now go back into my journey builder, I can close out of my data extension here, and I'll remove my existing attribution to the sample rows. So delete that source, and I'll drag a source in once more. So there we are, data extension source, click on it. I can choose my data extension, and this time I won't choose the sample rows, I'm going to choose sample rows journey. So I go into my public folder here, and sample rows journey with 0 rows, there it is. There is no journeys currently with this one, great, summary, and done. Now with that done, I've got my schedule here, so 0 records there, that's great. for my schedule, when I click on my schedule, it's going to say, hey, I can do automation. And the reason is it's detected that this data extension is being used in a current automation. So with automation selected, I'll choose select, and I can now have a look. Let's set the schedule for my automation. Now it's straight away found that I in fact do have one automation, this one here, the sample rows journey automation, which is going to repeat every 1 day at 1 AM. Great. I can choose that automation and go summary. It's going to ask me to do the contact evaluation once more. So I go edit on my evaluation. Do I want to do the high watermark or all records? Well, for this one, I'm going to choose the high watermark. I'm going to say it's going to be all records in the file. I could have chosen the only new ones after the activation of this journey, but since there's no records there right now, I'll choose the all records in file. Go summary and done. And there we are, all configured. Now for today, I'm actually going to remove the email activity because I don't have an email pre-built. What I can do is scroll right down to my update contact activity. And I'll throw that one in. And what I can do is I can use my update contact to change some data in this sample rows journey data extension to make sure that I know a record's gone through the activity. So I'll choose my data extension by going back in here, back into my folder and choosing the journey data extension. On the attribute that I can choose, I'm going to set the, what should I set? How about the role to be equal to journey done. All right, so now if the role of this record is set to journey done, then we know they've gone through this activity. So go summary and then done. And there's my activity completed. I've changed my 1 day wait condition here down to something more reasonable, like 1 minute, done. Of course, in my journey, make sure my journey settings have been modified. So I've got re-enter anytime, email address is email address, looking good. I'll go done, and I think my journey is now ready to start. So let's have a look at what happens now when I save my journey. Looks good. I should validate my journey, of course. Making sure things are looking good. Prepare for takeoff, fantastic. So let's now activate. And when I do this, a really cool step takes place in Automation Studio. So you're on your way, we can now go return a journey. If I back out into Automation Studio now, I can see for myself, my automation is here. If I back out into my all journeys, I'll see a cool thing's happened. If I have a look into my folders, and it's here somewhere, I should now see, here it is here, my sample rows journey. And all of a sudden, there's now 2 activities in my automation here. There's of course the original SQL, but this brand new journey entry audience. You can see here this was added as a result of that journey that I just activated. So what's going to happen now is if I was to run this activity, it's going to do my SQL activity here and then inject those records into the journey. So let's try that out. What I can do is I can jump over here and pause my automation and say pause. Of course, I'll save it where it is right now. And now I can run this activity once, which will trigger the journey just once, with of course the records that I've told it to inject, which is just the first record, which should be Astro. So let's try it out. I'll go run once. I'm going to run both activities. Run and run. So hopefully what should happen is in a few seconds my activity will kick off and I'll see that the SQL has taken place and I'll find some records have gone into my sample rows journey data extension. We've got 0 right now, but hopefully in just a second, you'll see there we go, it started to run. And we should hopefully see 1 record go into that data extension and then it will trigger the journey. We can check back on the journey ourselves and make sure that record goes through. So it hasn't finished just yet. All right, perfect. So it's finished, took 20 seconds. SQL is done and the journey was triggered. I jump back into my data extension that says 0 records, but if I refresh the screen, 1 record, perfect. And hopefully we find it's our first test subscriber, Astro. Yes, it is, perfect. I jump back into my journey builder. Hopefully I can see my view entry results. I can click on this text here to see the entry results of my journey and 1 contact evaluated, perfect. If I choose that record, I can see that this contact key was attempted. The contact process started. So if I can copy that contact key, I'll jump into my data extension, go Control F, and indeed that is my subscriber for Astro. So the record has begun to come in. Let's jump back into that data extension, into our journey now, and we'll have another look for ourselves. So we have one record in there, and if I go back into my entry results, hasn't quite had that second record come through just yet, might take a second longer. Okay, we can now see that our record has come into the journey. We can check it out for ourselves in the entry results here. We can see one evaluated and one accepted. Back on our journey, we can see that that record Astro has gone through the update contact. So if I jump back into my data extension, we previously had their role. But if we go back and refresh our data extension, we should now see in journey that Astro has a different role, which is journey done. Fantastic. So we've now proved we can load Astro into the activity. Let's now jump into Automation Studio once more, and we'll change our SQL to bring in the next record. So I'll first jump in here to my sample rows, and I'll pick up my next subscriber to test this out. Let's pick up Einstein, all right? So we'll choose Einstein's ID. I'll jump back into my SQL. I'm going to edit that SQL, changing the ID from Astro's ID to now be Einstein's ID. Syntax is looking good, so next, next, and done. Okay, with our brand new SQL, let's now save that activity. And let's try and run this one now. So with our new SQL, and we'll leave the trigger as it is, we'll now go run once. Running both activities once more. So I'll choose to run both and go run and run. And hopefully in a couple of seconds, we'll now run that activity for a second time with our new criteria. And of course, triggering the journey for a second time as well. And what should happen is that of course, Astro is still going through this wait condition, and we're going to have Einstein coming in right behind them. So Einstein's going to come in as our second record. It's going to be appended into our journey data extension back here. So you can see it's only got one record currently, but once Einstein comes in, there'll be two. We can check when Einstein's completed the journey because Einstein's role will have changed to journey done. So let's check out the activity tab, and perfect, it's now running. Can refresh and triggered, perfect. 18 seconds in total. So I'll now jump back into my data extension. It says one record, but if we click into it, it should now say two records. Perfect. I'll check my records out. And journey done. So Einstein's already gone through the journey. We'll check it out. It still says one, but in my results here, it says 2 and 2. I'll jump back onto my journey. It still says one's going through, but we do know that Einstein's now gone through that journey. Fantastic. So we've now proven that we can set up the data extension entry event using the Automation Studio automation activity. We'll do one more check now to make sure we can set this up to be a long-lasting activity. If I go back into my data extensions, I've got a flag here called the email opt-in. I ignored this for my journey, but you can imagine this would be something else such as a has recently purchased or is a brand new customer. You could use the join date, a purchase date, whatever field you have in your data sets. But for today, I'm going to choose where email opt-in is equal to true and pick up all of my subscribers in my sample rows data extension who are subscribed to email. Now I could rerun this every day and only using that high watermark to bring in brand new subscribers and send them a brand new welcome email. As you can see for today though, we've got these subscribers here who are going to receive this email. So what I'll do, I'll go back in and modify my SQL to change the status or the criteria to be email opt-in equals true, which should bring in all these records here. So I'll jump into Automation Studio, into my workflow, and I'm going to refresh that screen by going save. All right, here's my SQL. So let's go edit and edit. I'm going to change the condition here to be, I'll check out my field here. I've got sample rows journey. That's going to be where the email opt-in is equal to true. All right, and next, using update again so there's no clash of primary key, and finish. All right, so I'll save that activity, and let's now run it once more. All right, so choosing both activities and run and run. All right, so for our third time, we should see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 additional records going in on top of our first 2. So it should be 9 in total with 7 in this last run. So I jump back into my folder. We've got 2 currently and should be adding 7 shortly. We'll check our activity tab here. It's running right now. Awesome. Back in my Journey Builder, we've got 2 records going in. Check our results, 2 and 2, great. Back in our automation, it's still running and done. All right. Back into our data extension, there's 2 records. Let's check. Now there's 9. And it shows journey done already, so they've already gone through the journey. Awesome. Let's check it out for ourselves. Journey Builder and record count 9. Check the results. It's still processing a few of them now, so if we go back and refresh it, we should see just 2 have gone through, but in just a second, 9 and 9. Awesome. So all 9 records have now gone through the journey across 3 phases. We tested Astro first, Einstein second, and the has opted in criteria third. So we've now got our base plate for using the data extension journey entry source using the Automation Studio connection for it. So as you can see, the data extension entry event for Journey Builder is an extremely versatile and easy to use way to get your subscribers into Journey Builder. You can use it for your single sends like your newsletters or your main campaigns, but of course the reoccurring can be useful for things like birthdays, and your automation triggering is great for things like your transactions or activities that might be coupled to other actions inside of your instance. And I hope this video has given you a better understanding of how the data extension entry event works in Salesforce Marketing Cloud. If it has helped out today, then please let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. And also make sure that you are subscribed to the channel so that you are notified when I release more Salesforce Marketing Cloud content.